the tape for this, our main event of the evening. We introduce the champion, Chris, the West Side Strangler Brennan. Let's get it on!
What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are going to go over the recap of Bellator 288 that happened this weekend. Couple of the two exciting fights that I want to see the most did not take place, unfortunately.
You predicted 5 fights and 2 of them didn't happen.
Yeah.
So give you no contest on both of those, I guess.
I'll take the W.
So let's talk about Jornel Lugo's fight first.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jornel and Jalen Bates, Jalen Bates didn't pass or didn't get his eye exam stuff done in time, or something was up with it, and so that fight got pulled off the card before they even got to Chicago. So that was a bummer. That was aside from Luke's fight, that was the most fight I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah. So an eye exam, what does that look like? I didn't even know they did eye exams for fighters.
Yeah. So typically you have to get blood work, HIV, Hep B and C, and then an eye exam. Some states require you to get a dilated, and this time you'd had to get dilated and do some sort of eye exam, and then a physical.
What are they looking for in the eye exam? Just whether or not
detached retinas.
Okay.
Things that. Typically, you're not supposed to fight. You're not allowed to fight with contacts in.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And so, if you think about it, there's probably a bunch of dudes out there fighting blind. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think people wear them anyway. But yeah, you're not supposed to fight with contacts in. So I'm sure the eye exam is just kind of get you so you can get cleared to fight.
I mean, that makes sense. Even when I train Muay Thai, I wear contacts, and I've had them,
come out.
Lots.
Yeah.
So
that fight unfortunately didn't take place. I've spoken to Jornel. I know he's trying to get on the December 9th card at Mohegan Sun. If not that, the February 4th card in California.
Awesome. So talk about what happened with Luke. Obviously, that was a late pull.
Yeah, so this there's so much goes into what took place on this one. Luke and I had a perfect week. Everything was going perfect. We ran into his opponent a couple times. The kid was, I'm going to be nice and say he was somewhat delusional. He asked me straight up, he said, I'm sure you guys worked on rear naked choke defenses because of me, right? And I was honest with him and let him know how much we researched him. I said, do you have rear naked choke wins? Like, I should have known that already.
Right.
And he said, yeah. But I was thinking to myself, like, bro, if anybody's on anybody's back, Then after all this drama, his coach posts, I was really looking forward to the technical battle on the ground. And like, bro, are you guys living in a freaking, like, a dome over there, a bubble? Like, this kid, I talked highly of him before the fight because he had some nice sub wins, but the kid got his purple belt during this camp.
Oh, wow.
Lucas has been a black belt for 4 years. He's a 2-time world champion, a standout high school wrestler. Wrestled his freshman year in college until he got hurt. It was going to be one-way traffic on the ground.
Yeah.
100% one-way traffic on the ground.
Sure.
And I was looking forward to that. And the kid asked me beforehand, he said he was talking about changing gyms and asked if he'd be welcome to train up here after the fight. And I said yes. And
does he live around here?
No, he lives in Odessa. But going back now, he's not welcome to train here, but he is welcome to come here one time. Okay. He's welcome to come here one time and train one day so he can find out.
So he can learn?
Yeah, so he can find out what and I typically don't talk trash. I don't talk trash.
Yeah.
I did a little bit when I fought. I never do now because I'm not the one that has to back it up, right?
Sure.
All I'm doing is putting pressure on my kid.
Sure.
So I don't. But in this situation, like that kid, I'll go back now. I can't go into the detail. I kind of have on DMs with people of what this guy did with his medicals and why he couldn't fight. But we're in the middle of cutting weight, and I think we had 4 pounds to go, and we're the only people in the red locker room training, puddles everywhere.
How was the weight cut going?
Perfect. Like the last 3. Perfect. And then Jane from Bellator walks in, and typically they don't come in those rooms, for anything. And I could see it in her eyes as I looked over, and she said, "Hey guys." And I looked at her, and she literally already had glossy eyes.
Oh my gosh.
And I instantly started tearing up. I said, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." And she goes like that and kind of nodded her head. And I was already in tears because I know what the last 3 months looked like for us. And we've talked about this before.
Absolutely.
People don't realize what goes into a fight camp. And maybe some people's camps aren't as, detailed, thorough, and whatever as ours, but we leave 0 stones unturned. We spent a lot of money going to Glory MMA in Missouri, for weeks on weeks on weeks over this 12-week camp, traveling, training his body, just getting beat up, training with high-level guys. And so it was just like it was already an emotional time because you're cutting weight. It's already brutal on the body. And it's, as a dad, it's terrible to watch.
Yeah.
So when she came in, it was just like, so I was crushed because I knew exactly how he was going to be. And as soon as he figured, he goes, he yelled one time and then he sat down, he's just in tears. And what else could you, how else could you handle it? You know, tough guy. I don't care. Like, are there worse things that could happen? Sure. But at that moment in time when it happens, man, we just,
it's devastating.
kind of broke down for a second, for about 15 seconds. I hugged him. I told him I loved him. I said, "Hey, let's go. Let's do." They gave us, she said, "We'll get you on the card in 3 weeks. If to help for this, we'll put you on the card in 3 weeks." And I looked at Luke and asked, and he was just like, he didn't know, because to be honest, it's so brutal to make the weight as it is, to then come back in 3 weeks and do it again is hard. We came home and he was 165, right? So he's 20 pounds now over the weight class. He was within 4 pounds of weight. So now we have to maintain where he's at, bring it down. But also he already went through the stress of the fight week, and you have to really take your supplements, take your vitamins, eat clean, and not get sick. Your immune system's kind of crap, after that week. So we have to really, figure out this next 2 weeks before we leave the fight week and keep him healthy.
Sure.
So that we can then put his body through that again. So he wasn't sure. And then there was we were trying to fight in February as well. And now there's no way we can do December and February.
Yep.
So I was up in the air if he wanted to do December or February. And I was like, my opinion was, let's do, instead of going home for 1 week and starting an entire camp all the way over again, man, let's suck this up, get through these next 2 weeks and get back out to Mohegan Sun. He's 4-0 Mohegan, and let's just get back there and get work done. And then we're going to take a break, take probably a 4 or 5 month break of just getting better, getting strong, and improving. And
healing a little bit, recovering.
For sure.
What do you know about your potential opponents? Anything?
Nothing. There's not one yet. And here's the problem. He's not super easy to get fights for as it is, but now we have somebody that's got to take a fight on 3 weeks' notice. He's got to be able to make 145.
Yep.
So we're either looking at a 35er that's walking at 55 and has a 10-pound cut, or somebody who's stays in shape all the time and still only walking 10, 12 pounds over the weight limit. They can make weight. Hopefully, I'm sure they'll get somebody, could be somebody tougher, could be somebody better. The problem is we just trained 12 weeks for this guy, 10 weeks. I think we had an opponent change like 2 weeks into camp, but 10 weeks for this guy, this 6 foot guy with 6'4" guy,
long range,
so everything's going to be different, and we just got to get through it like always and move on to the next one.
So did you take a 1-day break and go out and go eat in Chicago, or?
So we once he got on the scale, he didn't drink right when she told him. He wanted to see, number one, do I have to make weight still in order to get paid?
Yeah.
And do I have to, whatever. She said, no, you're good where you're at. And so I said, let's sit here, let's strip down, let's get on the scale and see where we were, just so we know moving forward next time, is it still on the same, trajectory that it's been on for the last 3 weight cuts.
Yep.
And it was.
Cool.
So then we went upstairs. He didn't know if he wanted to come home or if he wanted to go and stay 2 more days and watch the fights.
Yeah.
And he decided, let's go home. Let's just get back and get going. So basically, we went out. He had spaghetti meatballs, which is always after the weigh-ins for him. Woke up in the morning. We went back after that. We packed everything, and I drove home in the morning, and he flew home in the morning. I took him to the airport, dropped him off, and I drove home. And by the time we got home, he rested the next morning. He coached wrestling the next day. Already got back and coached his guys and started training. That night started doing cardio this morning. Me and him just trained again right now, and we're just back on. Typically we would jump back in where we are 2 weeks out on camp, but we got to jump a little further back because he's heavier and push that a little bit quicker to the 155 range, 158 range. So we'll get it done.
How's he feeling?
He feels good. He's just, he's frustrated. He would really want to fight that guy. I actually went out of my way to ask Bellator. I said, hey, you wouldn't give that guy another shot and put him on just one more time and put him on the card against him? They said, absolutely not. And I said, okay, just because I really wanted that fight.
Yeah.
Especially after I started reading, what his coach had said and what he had said. And then our boxing coach knows their coach.
Okay.
And he kind of came to me with it, and I was just, mate, they're delusional. Someone needs to talk to that kid before, he runs into someone like he was about to.
Doesn't sound like he really understood what he was in for.
No. But anyway, fine 3 weeks.
Awesome.
Moving on.
Looking forward to the news and who his next opponent's going to be and what that looks like.
For sure.
Well, moving on to the 3 fights that did happen, Timur Kusarev, or Hizarev is how they pronounced it, and Daniel Weisel. I think you picked Hizarev in this one, and it was one of these. How do you pick people that are coming out of that part of the country or part of the world?
Yeah, and first of all, the card was great.
The card was amazing.
If you watch the undercard, I think there were 7 fights and 6 finishes. One fight went the distance.
Okay.
And then starting off the main card, Feraldo, who was a guy that was warming up in our room, and I recognized him, and I couldn't tell from where. And he ended up watching the highlights last night that they were showing before his fight. He was a guy who landed and stunned a guy and then pointed at him like this and then ran and jump kneed him and knocked him out because he knew he hurt him, and then he jump kneed him and knocked him out. He's got 2 or 3 jump knee knockouts. He ended up losing last night.
Yeah, he did.
But in a great fight, like a really, really good fight. If there was fight of the night bonuses, he got it.
That's a Poirier thing where you see Poirier like talking and be like,
Nate does that too. That's why I always wanted to see Nate and Poirier fight each other so they could point at each other all night.
Be talking the whole time. No, I got you there. So
anyway,
Kusarev and Weisel.
So this fight frustrated me because number one, Hizarev was not in the rankings. Weisel was number 7.
Yeah.
We're number 10.
Yep.
They're not going to kick Weisel out of the rankings from losing to him at number 7.
Yep.
So they're going to move that guy in, which is probably going to bump us out. And that sucks. Coming up on the card at Mohegan Sun, Cody Law, who's number 10, or is it number 9, is fighting Chris Lencioni.
Yes.
If Lencioni beats Cody Law,
you're back in.
No, we might be out because Lencioni might be in. So we might be even further out.
Okay.
Lencioni doesn't deserve to be in there. So hopefully, I believe Cody Law beats him. Luke has a better record than Cody Law, so he should be 9 and Cody should be 10 anyway.
Yeah.
So regardless of what happens, hopefully before that fight takes place, when they switch the rankings this coming week, hopefully Cody gets bumped out and Luke stays at 10.
Cody and Luke's resume similar as far as quality.
Cody's
of opponents?
6-1. Yeah, Luke's fought Cody's last fight against James Gonzalez that he lost, guy was tough, good fighter, and Cody lost, so he's 6-1. Luke's 7-0, and they fought and won and lost on the same card, and so I figured, why wouldn't he be number 9 and Cody be number 10? But we'll see. That's a fight that's going to happen down the line at some point anyway, I'm sure.
I was thinking about that. Yeah. Since they're both going to be on that card, I'm assuming you're going to be watching Cody pretty closely.
I've been watching him for a while now, especially once they got into the rankings. They're one apart from each other. So.
Yeah, that's a logical.
Yeah, I'd imagine at some point next year that fight will happen.
Judges scored this fight 29-28, 30-27, and 30-27.
So I keep getting off track because of everything that involves my kid from this weekend. Daniel Weisel took a shot in the 3rd round. Single leg, body lock, takedown. Like it was nothing.
Yep.
No one shoots on those guys, right?
Yeah.
No one shoots on the Dagestani guys because they're wrestling so good. But, man, no one shoots on them, so they never sprawl. They never have to defend. So it's easy to surprise them, right, because they're not expecting anyone to shoot on them. And he did. Took his back, got a hook in, went to what was going to be like a Sulov stretch, had that leg. He was kind of cradled. And I was like, why didn't he do this 2 rounds ago?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he do this 2 rounds ago? And he was clearly better than him on the ground. So he fell off the back right into an armbar.
Yes.
Had him in a belly down armbar. I watched his face wince, and he ended up getting out of it.
Yep.
And Weichel's on his back. The other guy stands up. Doesn't want to play in his guard. There was another time in the fight where he was on bottom. The guy didn't want to play in his guard, got up. So he clearly had better jiu-jitsu. Why would you not force, because you end up getting hurt forcing it, but really punch your way into clinches, takedowns, pressure to get to that leg earlier on. Like he clearly was better than him there, and his Rev was a better striker. He was fast, super fast.
Really fast.
Yeah, and it was catching him off guard, and he was landing. He was trying to counter strike, and the guy was already, he was done and out. And so it was a frustrating fight to watch. Once the 3rd round happened, I was very frustrated. I'm like, bro, as soon as they got back to the feet, I was like, get back to it. Go back to it. Go back to it. Didn't try it again.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like that takedown happened like 3 minutes left in the 3rd round or something,
Yeah.
so there was a little time left for him to go down there and try and do it again.
There was definitely time left to do it again. By the time they got back to the feet, there was still probably a minute and a half, 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
So, oh well.
You talk about, clear paths for each fighter, and I think you said a few times, I can't tell them how to fight. I don't know what their strategy is going to be, but it sounds like if you had been in his corner, he'd be like, bro, let's get to the ground.
Oh, for sure. I wish I could corner everybody. not that I'm the greatest coach ever, but I can see from the outside very well.
Absolutely.
I know what I'm doing, and I can see where the easy route is and where the hard route is.
And I think it's subjective because you don't have any skin in the game. You can just look at it and see for what it is.
Right.
So, entertaining fight for sure.
Oh yeah.
It was a really entertaining fight. Next one was Usman Nurmagomedov defeated Patricky Pitbull. The first thing on this one, the scoring, it was a clean sweep. I think Nurmagomedov, it wasn't even close. It wasn't competitive, but I was surprised that two coaches gave him a 10-8 round.
Two judges,
yeah. Excuse me, yes.
Yeah. I didn't see any 10-8 rounds. I did think he won all the rounds. Second round, I guess, was when he landed the elbows at the end of the round, but he literally was punching or elbowing his forearms and his hands. He covered very well.
He did.
And as they showed it in slow motion, I don't know if one of the elbows got through to his head. They were typically all of them were hitting his arms and his hands. So I wouldn't have given a 10-8 round, but it was clearly a 50-45.
That being said, when Pitbull came out in the 3rd round, he was wearing the 2nd round all over his face. His face was swole.
No doubt.
It was pink, it was swollen, and you could tell that he had. And Usman looked like he had just, took a jog around the track. Like he looked great.
So they're frustrating for Pitbull because Usman was keeping long range, using the side kick to the knee, that oblique kick to the knee, the push kick to the body, the side kick to the body. He's even side kicked him in the face a couple times. He had a real fast lead leg head kick. It was just a slap, but he didn't throw much to finish the fight to hurt Patricky. Patricky knows he has one punch knockout power.
Yeah.
He should have eaten one or two, to get inside,
to get in there,
to land that 1 or 2, and he just never did until the 5th round. 5th round, he came out desperate, landed a couple of good ones, and Usman would circle out and be away, and then, he'd settle right back in. There was the crowd booed, a lot during that fight because not a lot happened. Patricky didn't commit to throwing. He never shot. Usman took him down a little bit. I think at the beginning, was it just the 2nd round? Was that the only takedowns? The rest of the time, Patricky stopped the takedowns and kept it on the feet, but didn't do anything once he did. So it was very frustrating to watch. And like I said, going in, Usman had better striking than most of the Dagestani guys. That being said, Kusarev was a good striker. But yeah, I think Usman will, he'll be there a while, but I feel like he'll get challenged, a little bit more maybe than like what Khabib or those guys would have, just because I don't know that his wrestling and ground is as good as theirs is.
I mean, it makes you think it isn't because he didn't use it in any of that fight. He stood up and he, with the exception of the 2nd round, he basically stood with him and wanted to keep it on the feet, it appeared.
Yeah, he did go. I was trying to think when I was talking to Lucas a little bit ago during training, who on the card had that Dagestani handcuff, that wrist tie, and then he went to 2 and tucked it and kind of put him on his face. It was him. He did it to Patricky when Patricky was trying to get up. And
was that in the 2nd round?
It might have been. I think it probably was. And he used it very well.
What's next for Pitbull? He's 36. Obviously, he's a name.
I talked to Patricio while we were there, and he fights on New Year's Eve in Japan.
Yeah.
And then he's talking about fighting a 35 and trying to get that belt, but he can't do that because the Bantamweight Grand Prix is going on. So that's got to get settled before there is, a belt to fight for. And right now, Rufián Stotts has the interim belt, while Pettis is sitting out with the actual belt. He was out injured, and that's why he's not in the Grand Prix.
Yeah. And I'm super excited for that. That's coming up December 9th. That's going to be on the card that Luke is on. We're going to see some great fights.
It's a good card. It's a very good card.
I really hope Sabatella gets bouncing on that one. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. All right. I think this could have been easily the fight of the night. Vadim Nemkoff did defeat Corey Anderson. The first thing what surprised you most? The pace of the fight or Nemkoff's takedown defense?
That's a tough one because they were both amazing. Nemkoff typically fades a little bit, and I was like, oh God, that's a vicious pace he's putting on.
Yeah.
And Corey was pressuring, but it didn't matter that he was pressuring because he was eating double jabs for 5 rounds.
Yep.
And I'm not sure why Nemkoff didn't get to that calf kick earlier, because he started it in mid-3rd round and almost got him out of there with it.
Devastating.
Yeah, it was by the 3rd kick, Corey's leg was hurt. And then by the 5th round, he was on him in the 4th and then started throwing him again in the 5th. And he could have gotten him out of there with him had he picked up the pace with him a little more. But, man, his takedown offense was top-notch. So he went to ATT in Florida.
Yep.
And worked with Eblin and those guys.
Yeah.
It clearly worked.
Clearly.
He stuffed 15 takedowns.
He was
0 for 15 or 16?
0 for 15.
0 for 15.
And it didn't even, at some point, I don't know if Corey Anderson just kind of lost hope in him, but I felt like the last 5 weren't even close.
No, he started using them to throw an uppercut. He'd fake the shot or kind of go for it for real and then throw an uppercut off of it. But it was the takedown defense was awesome. Like, I was so impressed with that every time he do it. And then by the 4th round, when he was shooting again, I was like, he's not going to get it now.
Yeah.
Like, he's so tired now, he's not going to get it.
Yeah.
And he was already so beat up, and it's got to be frustrating. John McCarthy was commentating. He's like, and this is in the 1st or 2nd round, he can't get frustrated just because he hasn't gotten him. This is at 0-7.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
He just needs to stick with it. And I'm thinking, no, at this point, you were fresh. You should start to get frustrated.
Yeah.
Not show frustrated, but change the game. Now we need to use it to do something else. Now we need to use it to land strikes or something. but he was just, the speed of Nemkoff was great. The timing, the takedown defense, like everything he did was that was the best he's ever looked.
The pace of that fight, I think after round 1, I was like, holy crap. And then round 2 didn't slow down, and by the time you started getting into the championship rounds, they kept that pace up, and I was blown away by how fast and how furious that was.
And I like Corey Anderson, and he's a good dude, but I really wanted Nemkoff to win because Corey was one of the only guys that came from the UFC to Bellator that was winning.
Yeah.
He'd won 4 straight, lost a decision to somebody, or maybe I forget how he lost. I think it was the Cannoneer. And then came to Bellator, ranked number 5, I think, at the time. 5, I think. 4, maybe. And so I wanted Nemkoff to win so you could once again see that the Bellator guys are legit. You know, the top guys at Bellator are as good as the guys in the UFC. And there's so many people that are just UFC fans that don't know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's good for that to happen. And now he gets Yoel Romero. I think he does the same thing to Yoel. I think he beats up Yoel because Yoel's like, he's either a takedown or a monster overhands, monster punches. And I think he avoids him with the long jab, stays long, circles, and I think he beats him too, and that'll solidify that.
Corey Anderson's last loss in the UFC, his last fight was Jan Blachowicz.
Oh, Blachowicz. How?
KO'd. Punches in round 1.
All right.
3 minutes and 8 seconds into round 1, so it didn't last long.
Didn't go too long.
No, Blachowicz is Blachowicz there.
Yeah.
So
cool,
awesome. Well, I know we'll be talking Bellator 289 in the coming weeks.
Yep. Soon.
We'll be excited to see that. Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
It is all over, just like that.